All right, microphone check. We good? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Super. Thanks so much. All right, everybody, here we go. Welcome to today's call. It is the TRC helpline on January 14th of 2020. And I was actually just starting this where I was just a heartbeat late. I already started something that I just want to kind of give a quick summary here. A lot of the conversations that I'm having are in and around what's happening with the package. Okay. And I start 2020 with this massive level of certainty, like I've told a lot of you already this week on your one-on-ones, that I'm very certain that this package concept is working. And in fact, I'm about to show you today how I'm adapting it in the seller lane. And Joe O'Connor, I see you out there, so I've already actually started typing this letter. I want to show you what's exciting about starting with a foundational piece that you know works. We always knew it did. You know, all of you founding members of the TRC that have been around a long time, you'll know that we always started off with this model of thinking that we need to give away something for free. And, you know, our education is rooted in the world of Kennedy and Proctor, et cetera, where all of those people, you know, taught us this concept of free report. So, and this package was the bomb. So if you have a historical context, great. If you don't, I'll explain it. At the end of the day, the most important thing to understand here is that the concept of direct response, direct mail, has been around a long time. And there have always been magazines or letters or whatever it might be where people were able to go in and find a list, mail that list with a long form copy direct response letter that got people to directly respond, whether they called into a hotline, they called into a sales company, a sales machine, and then they were sold further. That's the concept at play here. So there's nothing, we haven't invented a methodology. We've hijacked that methodology that's universally sound and that works for our own purposes. And it's taken a while to understand how it would work in real estate, but we are certain in my office that it's working, especially when it comes to the sellers, okay? So I wanna make that clear that if you're in this group, you need to understand that there is some certainty to this. This is not a tactic shop. You know what I mean? Like the Realty Classroom Mastermind is not a tactic shop. You don't walk in, browse the aisles, and sort of decide. The goal from day one has been to develop out a universal process that each of you could plug into that would bring you sustainability through predictability. That's the idea of a franchise concept. So when you walk through this to get you oriented to what we've been talking about, there are three major funnels in this business, one for sellers, one for buyers, and one for agents. You can't avoid any of them. So you really need to understand what it is that we're doing to get those people. And so if you start off at each one of them, you start with the core question in any marketing, appealing to these people that, you know, don't know you, that haven't done business with you. Why should I do business with you above and beyond all other options, including doing nothing at all? So oftentimes the competition is that somebody won't get their license and become an agent. Somebody decides to never sell it again because they were so traumatized by trying to sell it. Somebody is about to buy and just decides to rent. Those are things you're contending with too. So, and the reason why a lot of those people would withdraw is because nobody is leading them. And you know that concept of prospects are silently begging to be led. And that includes even in a really noisy world, right? You follow this? In a noisy world, these people are being marketed at. They're being telemarketed at. They're being muscled. Almost every marketing piece has some sort of a bait and switch in it when you really look at it, okay? Almost everyone. So what the endeavor here was to not do that. Right? The number one theory is to not do what everybody else does. It doesn't mean that you all of a sudden have competition, no competition, okay? I've said this before, I'm opening a competition-less funnel. That doesn't mean that competition goes away. So for example, when we talk about on the helpline, the sellers, it doesn't mean that I'm able to do something so wildly unique, I blow up all the sellers, the other agents at the start. I might be able to do it over time, and I think we've been doing that. But I want you to understand that when you start and you're putting this stuff together in a funnel, that fundamental piece of it, which is what they want and what they need, this layered cake, can be sort of, the Trojan horse can be delivered to their home. It can be handed to them in open house. It can be given to them at an agent meeting. But it is a Trojan horse to the extent that direct response, direct copy, direct response, direct mail marketing, and direct mail can be handed. It doesn't have to be mailed. If you give that to them and you have a good copywritten letter on top of it that tells them what it is, what it means to them, how it solves their pain, and what the call to action is, there's a very high likelihood that when the dog whistle is so perfectly pitched for your perfect avatar, they come running inbound. Okay, let that sink in. And that's been my experience at Griffin Realty Group, is that when we've given the package to the right person and it's received, the Trojan horse gets opened in their house, the copywritten salesman goes to work, and they actually read the call to action in direct response and call back to the company telling Autumn, I would like to see him. So that hits me at the beginning of this year that is the strategy. That's it. So now I'm going to show you how, with the O'Connors who have to do massive volume. And Joe, I'm hoping, Joe, you called in. If you didn't call in, you probably should try to call in as well as just be on Facebook, because you can't talk to me there. But these guys took me further back in the funnel, all the way to the whimsical lead capture through a third party. Okay. And Jerry knows what that is. Joe knows what that is. These guys know. But when we went back there, instead of now saying, oh, don't do that, do this, I said, hey, here's what we could use internet lead capture for now, as long as it doesn't drown your time. Because on Thursday, I'm going to talk about what it means to be linear versus exponential. And you'll see that the use of systems and people is actually layering up exponentially your time management. Okay, I'm going to talk about how that really works. But today, I want to show you tactically that the O'Connors have this company. They're getting about 60 home evaluations, a month. And Jerry doesn't want to take the money. This is why the bomb failed at Proctor too. He doesn't want to take the money and mail it to all of those people, because a lot of them could just be whimsical inquiries, as he knows, as we know. So we came up with, okay, how do we deal with those people if we go backwards a step in the funnel? Meaning they definitely are there. And here's the answer. When you buy leads, like from a Sync, a Boomtown, a Bold Leads, or whatever the company he's using, you're actually buying, if you can get the address, and in this case, they're asking about a property address, you're buying a list. So if we can think about it that way, that you're actually buying a list of people you can market to, that's what direct response marketers do. So instead of having to, and John Parasek and I were talking about this on his 101, instead of having to farm an entire area, if I can run a digital ad in that area and I can get people to raise their hands, I know I have some crap in there, but let's consider this. What if in the 60 leads, there's only 10% that were real inquiries? So am I willing to spend the money on a postcard or a direct response, both direct response postcard or direct response letter? Am I willing to spend the buck or less that it would take to get a postcard out to them to provoke them? And the answer would be absolutely yes. It's definitely worth a try, because that's where digital is not juxtaposed against direct mail. That's when it can be used together. Okay. So that's a nice little rework of what we've all been talking about that I wanted to bring up today and show you tactically that it's there. And of course, any other questions that you have. Okay. So hang on one second. Let me just open up the mic. All right, guys, there? We good? Yeah. Come on.
Hey, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you. Unmute me. Everybody unmute me. Stay focused with me. I don't want to talk to myself. You guys are already lethargic and it's January something. Go on this vegan diet I'm on. I think I sprinted my run this morning. It's good for you. All right. So here we go. I am going to go into this. Joe O'Connor, if you're not on here, I need you to tell me that by typing into Facebook, because this was for you and Jerry. I just need to, know that. Hang on one second. I just recognized that. One thing I didn't do was hit the start button on the go to meeting. So bear with me while I do that. Any questions about what I just said? No? Everybody's got it. Everybody's focused. No ADD today, huh?
Well, Danny, I really am amazed about the inbound calls you're getting on the package. I guess I just would like to remove any sort of obstacles in the way for me to do that as well.
Okay. Here's an easy answer. Here's an easy answer. Copy the yellow brick road. I actually had inbound calls well before I ever added telemarketing. So if you recall going backwards right in front of you guys, I actually wrote this copywritten cover letter long ago. It's a good solid 4 years ago that I wrote. It's a original version. And when I wrote the original version, Charlie, in there, what I did was I just simply copied Dan Kennedy's formula of what he did on his website. Do you remember any of those calls that I did on that? I kind of went to his website and I showed you. I'll go there now too. Let me just get this. I didn't realize I hadn't started this. Hang on one second. Okay, so now I have the recording going. So Charlie, you ask a good question that I think will go to answer and show how Joe's thing is going to happen here, right? So if I go to Dan Kennedy's GKIC website, okay, I want you to see what they do in a digital context, which I've always been fascinated by. And there it is right off the bat. Hang on. If you're not on there, I'm on his site. And what they do immediately is they say, claim $800 worth of powerful marketing tools and resources for free. I used to like it better before they screwed with Kennedy's original stuff, because what they did back then was they actually, Charlie, had a crooked number, like $688. So Kennedy's smarter than all these cats. But here's what I was telling Jerry and Joe that I wanted them to do. And you're going to see how this comes too. They actually show here what you will get. And it's pretty sexy looking for free. All of a sudden, I'm looking at this ringed binder. I'm looking at 3 CDs. I'm looking at a thumbnail. I'm looking at, some sort of they made it on a roller, but it's an infographic walkthrough of how things happen, right? There's these gift certificates that are in there. There's these letters. It's a fat package. And most importantly, like us, there's a magazine. As it lays on the ground, the title is GKIC, If You Only Knew. This is a pro, and this is what a pro does. So this whole concept, you have to understand why direct response works. So I'm glad you bring it up, because what I did was I copied this. If you were to go into log in here, any of you, and you go to claim your free gift, let's show you this. So presumably that gets you, up you go, and now you come into a typical sales page. Now remember, we've got the challenge of trying to, duplicate this. And I will be in my website company doing this precise thing online, so that if I can get people in here with a much more robust offer. So in other words, can you imagine me offering the package digitally just like this, in addition to us telemarketing offering permission to send it? All that changes is the medium upon which the same message gets sent. Okay. And it's a direct response marketing piece, which tells you if they come here, this is an offer for the gift. If I pick up the phone, I'm offering you the gift through telemarketing. But when I get you there, it's copywriting. So in this case, these guys need me to read. Okay. So what happens is, like, thanks for stopping in. And they talk to me as an avatar. Here's who we are, and here's what we're about. The global community for small business owners who come for fast and dramatic growth and stay for continued long-term prosperity. Bang. They're speaking to you as an avatar immediately. There's no waste of time, okay? You're here now because something's not right. They recognize the pain, okay? Or, like we have to do sometimes with sellers, even let them know that you have pain and you might not even know it. We can not only help you solve that issue, but our proprietary marketing systems and strategies, all that word, systems, strategies, proprietary, is intentional. Can actually set your business on a new trajectory of growth that will ultimately free you up to enjoy the business and your life again. I say this in my podcast every opening, on your terms. Truth is, you just can't find this anywhere else. Okay? So it's a big claim, speaking right to the avatar. Now, what they do is they go into this whole pitch. But this is a long form copywritten letter, Charlie. That's all this is. Okay? That's all this is. So they start to go down through this and they start to talk about this, right? Start my membership and send this. They don't even wait anymore. They go to start my membership and send my free package now. So they're not even any longer offering the free package. They're going straight to this, right? So let's see as we scroll down, they go right to a billing address, okay, for this whole thing, which is interesting. They've actually now skipped a step. So they used to allow you to just get this direct mail marketing package. Now they just send this, okay, which is a little bit non-Kennedy-esque. Kennedy would more so have you change yourself into a customer and then go from here. Let's see if they allow you to. Yeah, they don't. They've already made it there, right? So I don't know going backwards if they would let me just get the package, but you get the point now. Therein lies the concept of the bomb. You following me so far?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Charlie, this is essentially supposed to be a do-it-yourself kit. Okay? You have two choices, but only one makes sense. You can either keep running, blah, 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 and it goes on. So there used to be that when you signed in for this, okay, let me just see if they give you the first month free or what they do. Okay. You used to be able to just sign in for the package and then they lead captured your information. So if you abandoned the cart, you know, because you got their email, see, now they're not two-stepping it anymore. Why, I don't know, but it's interesting to see that. But there you go. There's the whole deal. There's how it works. Okay. So our formula is predicated on sound business principles like this of offering a package. But yet I scratch my head. How in the world is the guide here? Have I not gotten everybody clubbed over the head to have this package in front of them and tell them that there is no script that requires talent. It requires reading. Hey, Charlie, Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling, I saw your beautiful house online. I noticed you had a problem that it didn't sell. You know what I mean? I'm adding words to it, Charlie, but you get my point? It's copywriting. I'm agitating your pain. I noticed it didn't sell, so I wanted to send you some information that will help you sell it the next time. Hey, I noticed your small business is failing, so I wanted to send you some marketing advice that will help you grow it. See what I'm saying, Charlie? It's identical.
Yeah.
So,
Danny,
yeah, Lee, go ahead. Go ahead, Lee.
what's your thoughts on digital as well? This week alone, we've had like 5 people who are traveling or out of the country who wanted us to email.
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't love it. There's something kinesthetic. I mean, that's my thought. My thought is I don't love it. I mean, you can do it in a zip folder, but you and I both know they're less likely to read it there, and you're less likely to change your relationship with them. I mean, if they're traveling, they're not going to unless they live overseas or they live in another state already. I would just FedEx it to them. Yeah, you're cutting.
I don't know what we do if they're in the States, but these guys are actually, they're all out of the country.
Yeah, but they're not. But are they going to make?
What they wanted an email.
Lee, are they going to make a buying decision? They didn't want an email. You allowed them to want an email. Yeah. They allowed you to wag the dog. They allowed your team to be wagged around. Say, this is a physical package. The only thing that I'd be able to email you is pieces of it, but it's not the way it works. And again, you'll bastardize the whole thing the minute it's not sent in there. So I'm warning you, I wouldn't do digital. Unless they're overseas.
Well, we're not going to try to do that on a regular basis, but I think it's a backup.
I don't know. I don't think it's a good backup. Here's why. You're moving away from ideal avatar. I'll tell you why. What we've learned. The ideal avatar for Kennedy, for us, for anybody, gets this physical package in their hands, period. Because the intent is when it physically comes to them, you have opened up that competition lane. If you just email, you have not. And don't sell yourself.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But these houses are all within, our avatar and our range.
Again, I will say, if they are making a decision because they are overseas and the only way to be would be digital, then you'll have to come up with a version of this that's digital. But even then, I would send it overseas as a physical product. If they are simply traveling for business, I would send it to their mailing address and say, no problem, we can wait till you get back because we think it's that important that you get it in your hands. I'm just giving you my advice. You can go against it like most of you guys do when you want to lock horns with me, but I'm telling you why I think it fails. Digital can be deleted, lost, not read. There's something about a physical experience when a guy's sitting down with a beer after a long trip in front of a football game and he opens up your package and he starts perusing it. Like I'm in better company than I've ever been before.
I mean, would it make you feel better if I said we sent a bomb video with it?
No, none of it. None of it. No, none of it. I cannot protect you guys. In all seriousness, I will tell you this though, Lee. If the package goes out and there's not an immediate decision to be made, I think Bomb as a vehicle to deliver 7-step videos to supplement the properties they'd be getting, or the appointment's been set up, then you're talking. That's what I'm working with several people on. Brett Howard's really working on a video funnel type of thing. So yes, I would. But again, it's always like we just don't want to just do this right. And that's what kicked the can down the road for me for too long. So I'm just going to say, it's interesting that your brain brings that up. So why did you go straight to that?
Because we literally had 5 people this week that all requested that.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong with your telemarketing. Something's wrong with your telemarketing. Dude, until you prove me wrong. Hold on. No, I don't think so. You're guessing. You don't have a recording you can send me to prove that 5 times. I'll guarantee you. If you do, I will buy you whatever kind of dinner you want right in front of everybody. You can have it and video it. You don't have the evidence to prove it.
That might have to happen.
I will throw down the gauntlet. You will show me the 5 audio recordings where you are certain that your girls on the phone, and I say girls, ladies, women who were on the phone did the job correctly. When you can prove that to me, I'll back down. I'll say I was wrong in front of everybody.
Okay, so let me back up. Let me back up a little bit. Danny, you're my distraction today, so I appreciate that.
Yep.
So we kind of work
Yep.
in reverse order.
Okay.
I was gonna chime in and ask a similar question.
Yep.
Because I heard in the beginning, I heard about the 60 packages, and immediately the thought went into my head, the cost of that and what's wasted and not going to be followed up on properly. So I like the idea of saying, all right, who are the ones who are best suited to get it? We're going to act on it now. But what do we do with the rest of them?
Dino, hold on. Dino, can I deal with that? Because I want to deal with it for Joe anyway. Let me deal with that. You ask an excellent question. I told Jerry I completely agreed. Do not waste your money and send it to all those leads. But in the same breath, I did not tell him or take a negative position towards internet inquiry type of leads, okay? Because in the internet inquiry leads, we all know that there's some gold. All you sync users still know there's some gold. Market Leader, Boomtown, Bold Leads, everybody in Canada, the whole team up there, they know there's gold in there if they sift and sort and pan for it. So here's what we agreed to, that I would write a script that could be used on a postcard or in a letter. So here it is. Right before the call, I wrote this, okay? And this was just rough bullet points. Thank you for your home evaluation inquiry. You, and then in parentheses, dealing with the whimsical inquiries, or somebody interested in your property, intrigue, provocation, submitted a request for an online evaluation, okay? And we are not sure what type of evaluation you were looking for. If you are just curious, then the proper evaluation would start with a general list of properties that have recently sold in your neighborhood or that are most like yours in a general area. If you are thinking about selling your property within the next 12 months, then it's important for us to include more information that will narrow the possible asking price range down, as well as include a strategic plan on how to improve your property's value well prior to listing it. In order to receive the correct information, please contact us immediately, okay? Then I would come in here and I would put phone number, email, whatever else you all want. And then it would say, thank you sincerely, Lee Stillwell. Now I go down and deal with this. P.S. This is list cleansing. P.S. If it was not you that made the inquiry, then please let us know so that we may protect your privacy. So immediately,
like that.
Yeah. So immediately I'm thinking ahead, how do I save Jerry and anybody else who's getting these type of leads from wasting time? Because this is an example of what I want to talk about on Thursday again, that this is exponential growth, meaning Jerry can get the 60 names and he basically bought a mailing list. And all of us, if we were serious about what a mailing list is or isn't, we would recognize instantly that it's the same thing as doing quantum digital, drawing a circle and sending out some postcards, right? If these people can raise their hands and say, I'm interested in this property, what if there's 6 real inquiries in there, 10%, and 90% is a throwaway? Wonderful. For $60 essentially or less a month, he can market to that subset list. And assuming that we get this whole concept that is in the bigger package the same way, and I'll look at this more from a copywriting standpoint, but here's the dual path of readership, right?
Can you fix that spelling mistake?
Yes. Is it bothering you?
I thought it was just my ADD that was my
If-
OCD that was
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, fix it, damn it, fix it.
If I can leave
And I
it,
got another job for you.
okay.
You had to make a text one too.
Yes, correct. So, and I agree with you. Finally, I agree with something you've said today. So,
That's kind of where I was
Praise the Lord.
That's kind of where I was going with this. To say, how do we take the attempt to send the physical package at whatever that cost is, and say, okay, it's not worth that. We're not going to get a return on that investment.
correct,
Now.
correct.
How do we do it at an appropriate time, and what's the campaign that builds?
Well,
That's where I was going.
Yeah, well, perfect. Yeah, no, I understand where you're going, because now that's the exciting thing, Dean, as we start 2020. Because now you can solve problems versus it sounds like, oh, Danny takes a position. I've heard you guys say this to me. Oh, you hate internet leads. Man, if I could find
You are hard-headed.
Yeah, no doubt I am. No doubt. But I just want to show you guys the work that you have helped create. Like sometimes you guys don't understand how well you've done at creating this stuff, and then you don't use it. Lee, you and I had a good conversation about that yesterday. You've been one of the you and Dean, Gail, you've been the prime movers on this kind of stuff. But yet then what's ironic is it doesn't execute in your business precisely the way you've helped me create it. Lee, without getting into all the private stuff you and I talk about your team, that was what I was essentially saying yesterday. My gosh, can you believe you're a prime mover of this group, but yet these people in your group are not executing the way that you and I know they're supposed to? Well, that becomes that issue of management. Are we being bold enough? And Dean, you and Lee are the same way. You are the nicest guys. Right, because you guys are the nicest guys in the world. So you tended towards family or treat people overly so like family, to where the point where they started wagging the dog of management. And I was there long ago with Charlene and, types of people like that, where it's just business is so ruthless that this is what it is. So if I sound hard-headed, it's simply to try to say, guys, look, you guys and gals have all created this systematic approach with me. I am obsessive about executing it as close to perfectly as we can to find out what doesn't work, throw that out and keep what does. But yet when I look into your businesses, the irony is you're not executing the same way. So all I'm saying is into Lee's concept of what do you do about digital? Here's all I'm saying. At the moment, there will be some play for digital, but the problem will be more so if you don't execute the direct mail. You better go figure out why not. And you will find, like I did, that the people who are making the phone calls for you are not executing this plan. It first starts off as our problem. And Laura and I recognize this, okay? When Autumn first started, she came in with this tremendous technique and tactic. We were excited because we knew specifically what our system was. Here's the script that gets the package. Here's the package that goes out the door. But I never realized this was a Trojan horse that could then go to work for Autumn. Because Charlie, you're asking me this. How do you get the direct response? Well, the minute Autumn gets that permission, real permission now we don't want this light bullshit permission. We want real permission that person is actually considering selling in the next 12 months and they really want the package, not some send it and they blow us off. We'll say, wait a minute, I want to make sure you want it. I don't want to just send it if you don't want it, right? Do you have a real reason to move? Because this is super valuable stuff. So I've actually turned her loose a little bit and said, look, you can bite them a little bit back to make sure that you're sending it to quality, because I don't need a fattened pipeline like a clogged artery. I want this thing to be flowing with people that are truly motivated at a 10 or they've broken the scale, because those are the two people that have turned into, a sale so far. So as you go through this, Dean, now all you have to do is go back to old fashioned, I guess, marketing, to the extent that you're buying or you're really buying a list. See, leads, when you do them, like from Sync in your case, in Lee's case, the same, And in addition, like in Jerry's, he buys them like this is a bold lead equivalent. Now, all of a sudden, it's just like, okay, guys, we've got to be cost effective here. The 60 weren't that expensive, but if you start dropping $10 a package every single month, you got 600 going out the door. Plus it takes the time of the person to stuff everything. Now you're starting to wonder why you're doing this at all, because what you find, like Charlie's seeking, is not enough people respond because we didn't identify the true people, right? And even the 6 might be the types, because of the way they started on the internet, they might be the types that hide anyway. So even if you send a good copywritten thing, those people would need phone calls. Now he's got a caller calling into 60 whimsical leads, and he's not even like using that person to call the expireds first. So it becomes a matter of time management to say, what is the priority? Well, this isn't it, but I'm not going to any longer have to throw it out because I can say, I got a solution for you. You just have to go back for a teaser copywriter. And the teaser here, Lee, you even react to it. You were provoked by it, okay? You or somebody else interested in your property. Immediately, I got them, right? So now I go here and I do this, I bold this. So this dual path of readership begins to come to life in copywriting. And again, I'm not a professional copywriting. I know enough to be effective in small situations like this. So this is what I do. If they were to skim the letter and have a dual path of readership, right? What would it look like so that you can skim this and get the points? And this would be, and remember, I have to do this in a letter or I have to do this in a postcard, and I have to be effective. So Brad Bretthauer's redo of his postcards was an example to you on one of these helplines of how we took it, simplified it, and used the same thing, right? Like this is exactly right here, how you go do all this, right? And again, you can play with italics, you can check this stuff out, whatever we do, I don't know what gets read, what doesn't, what the madness is, right? So
a question for you on that thank you for your home evaluation inquiry. Is it better, it would just be a random thought that makes no sense, but would it be better, because there is a little bit of doubt in there, where you change it as opposed to saying, thank you for the inquiry, as we've received an inquiry about this property. If it's from you, thank you, ...
Yeah.
If it's not, do this.
Yeah. Super. Say it again. I like the first part.
If not even,
we received that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even put the thank you in, because the thank you is an acknowledgement that they did it. So maybe create a little bit of doubt, because you do address the doubt later down in the letter. So we recently received an inquiry for this property, and if you want to make it specific, you can put the address in there. If it's from you, thank you very much. ... Here's the next steps. If it's not, we want to protect your privacy. ... Here's the next steps.
What's your thoughts about trying this in the voicemail drop?
Anything you can do to distract yourself. Oh,
I'm trying to agitate.
you're such a tech geek deep down inside. Let yourself out, okay? So, yeah.
I like the idea of that, for the sake of not letting things fall through the cracks.
Guys, I agree with guys. Guys, in this case,
the letter
let me answer.
goes out,
but hold on. Let me answer it this way before you get down into the micro. In this case, because he bought all these leads, which will include whimsical stuff, I think, Lee, it's fair game to hit every medium that you can with a simplified version, which would include voice drop, it would include postcard or letter, and it would include text. So all we have to do for the text is simplify it, right? So what you could do is go, we recently received a request for a home evaluation on your property. Your property. For the text, Lee, it would be, was that from you? You know what I mean? So I'm done. I'm done right there. Was that from you? And for the sake of...
Or even for the sake of your privacy, we want to confirm that it was for you.
Hang on. Somebody had to go to the boys' room.
Who's got
Donnie boy. All right, let me come back to this because this is good. Because again, hopefully what I'm proving to you all is that this is the way that you can stay in funnel. You're not coming up with a new tactic. You're simply going back in the funnel saying, whoa, this marketing is the least clear as to motivation, right? And this is why I say when you're implementing a seller funnel, you would never do this under my watch first. You wouldn't. Because I'd be telling you, you'd be missing a huge opportunity to go direct to motivation, to motivated piles. Don't forget what I'm saying with expireds, there's already very clear motivation to sell because they tried. With probates, there's very clear reason to sell if there's property, right? With FSBOs, they're in the act. So it would be insane to do something like this and spend money, time, and effort before that. Just want to emphasize that, okay? But now, because of the nature of these leads, now I think this is where exponentially you manage time and leverage it by using text, voice drop, and mail, presumingly that it's all set up and it's automated. If it's people, I think you have a problem, right? I think you're wasting, like in other words, if the stipend is $15 an hour equivalent time, every time she spends that time doing something like dropping a voicemail to a whimsical inquiry, you're screwed. And that was my point to Jerry. Don't go hire this new woman telemarketer and then have her messing with this crap. If somebody be identified out of this pile, absolutely yes, because then it becomes the equivalent of say an expired because somebody has definitely raised their hands. Dean, give me that language again. We recently received a request for an evaluation on your property. What did you say? Was that from you? Was that really you? What did you say?
For your privacy, for your own privacy, was that?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. For the sake of your privacy, we wanted to confirm that this is from you. Because I think that comes across as less salesy and more what's in it for them.
For sure. I love it. Well, I had it down the bottom, but I like it better at the top because it cuts the place, right?
Yeah.
You can actually end it right there.
It either creates or clarifies the doubt earlier on in the letter, I think.
Yeah.
I think on a text, man.
Yeah, but again, Lee, but hold on, Dean, I got to deal with this paradigm he has. But you keep defaulting to that, right? And I'm going to tell you this, on a text, on a voicemail is not going to be as effective as something that goes in their house like a Trojan horse.
It's called, I'm talking about layers, different.
I agree, but until you do something like this.
Package is going out first for a letter.
Yeah, no package here. This is the tease for the package. That's a good point you bring up. Everything's a tease for the package. For the sake of prize, I want to confirm
this is the money saver.
Yeah.
This is the money saver right there.
You send out the email, you send out the letter, and then you send out a text, maybe drop a voicemail, and then you'll find out fairly quickly whether they're serious about the package or not.
Hang on. Let's just get this letter pounded out. Okay, so we recently received a request for an evaluation of property. If it was you, if you are curious, if you're thinking about selling, right? There you go. Then
Quiet.
woo.
Guard dog.
Okay.
Your browser's frozen.
Is it? Oh, thank you. Let me show you this.
Chris Egan hasn't jumped in on this yet. I can't believe it.
Oh no, Chris Egan was working on his ADD with me today. He was doing awesome. Right, Chris? Don't let him rattle you.
Yep.
All right. Lee, you must be on the vegan diet. You're all fiery today. There you go. See, look at how quickly we come up with. Look at how quickly we come up with something that now, if you roll back in your chair as you look at this, you have the dual path of readership, right? We recently received a request for an evaluation of your property. If it was you, if you're curious, if you are just curious, then the proper evaluation, boom. If you're thinking about selling within the next 12 months, then, right? Okay. So, something like that. I'll work on this some more, but there you go. There's your, like, in really with one of those direct response postcards, like Kennedy and Proctor used to send, there you go, man. That's it. And then you got a little, PS down here, which should be bolded. Right? So, and that's the key.
Okay.
Charlie, you still there?
Yeah. I wanted to just follow up on this.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
So I'm not having trouble getting the packages out. People are wanting them, but it's the follow up. And specifically, you mentioned Autumn saying, scale from 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell? Does that come in the initial conversation?
That's a great question. That's a super question. Good. Let me segue. Really good question, because I'll tell you what we're learning. And this came up, I was expressing this a little bit to you, but I want to go deeper, okay? Because what I said to Chris Egan today is be careful of being too literal past the open line, okay? The idea of the opening line that we have discovered to be effective for everybody who's using it is the delivery of the Trojan horse. And I'm going to keep using that analogy so that you have that comment, right? So when you think about the analogy this way, Charlie, it's so critical to get the Trojan horse in the door. It's got to get done. However, the next beat is, what do they give us, right? What do they give us beyond that? Do they give us some sense that we could ask now a qualification question? Which, when you say, okay, what qualification? That's where I'm going to go into the back end of, Teachable, and I'm going to show you guys that we're just following this franchise prototype. So you have the prospecting mind map, which is going to, and I'll open that in a second here, which is going to give you a path to make sure that the first beat by you or somebody doing it for you is accomplished. The number one reason to have a telemarketer do it yourself is to get the Trojan horse with the copywritten salesperson in the package to pop out and get them to direct respond. Charlie, that's your first answer, how we've gotten inbound calls. Will you get a lot of them? I don't know yet. I don't know how Californians will respond to the, call to action, call me, okay? So even if you didn't send it on top of a call, you just sent it blindly, it's intended to work that way where it direct response. We find that if they gave you permission and they're motivated, oftentimes they will call back. So you might have to have those factors align. But what if you could find out right on that first call what's happening, okay? So this is the latest when we look at this whole idea of these questions, okay? So going into Teachable site, now you say, if there's more conversation, can I begin to jump ahead of myself and get the answers that I'm going to want when I call back anyway? So I'm going to leave this one in the hands of saying, like I said to Chris today, he's hiring somebody who's been in the political realm, who has great experience trying to get these answers about motivation to vote. So it's the same thing. I said, now this is where they use their strategy, of their own techniques and tactics, but not getting outside the yellow brick system. If there's conversation, the concept is super. So I've confirmed the address. Awesome. I'm going to get that out to you, and I'll give you a buzz next week to make sure you get it. By the way, while I have you, why are you trying to sell it in the first place? Now I go really conversational, but it's still scripted to the extent that I'm getting answers off the qualifying questionnaire to determine what Tony was talking about. So Tony, when he asked me this, where's all the questions about timing and motivation? Here's where that debate led me to say, okay, Tony, I'll bite. But the key would be if you could get into these types of questions as if you were booking the appointment, then go for it. Charlie, make sense?
Okay. Yeah, where is it? I'm on the Teachable site. Is there a questionnaire?
Yes, it's under when you go under, hold on, let me show my screen. You're seeing the back end on my end of it. Everything's by module. They're under conversion. So the idea of the prospecting mind map is where we begin. The idea of the seller qualifying questionnaire is where we go. The listing package, similar to the package, okay, but not the package, is so when I got the questionnaire set up, this is what we put in it. Then we give you examples of our cloud CMA. We give you a movie on how we price it right, the net sheet, okay? That's what we do. And then down the bottom, you have the telemarketing spreadsheet, okay? That's all I want you guys to, to understand is there. I will be adding a buy side to this and an agent side to this. So you see that the same thing happens in those. And again, reminder, tomorrow night at 7:00, I'm doing an expansion call for all of those that are curious about, hiring this way. Because we're jazzed about it. We turned on ZipRecruiter again. We're getting our package and our copywritten letter ready for the agents. So we're very excited to be using this everywhere. So Charlie, there's your whole system right in front of you, identical to what we do.
Okay, you said it's under telemarketing.
It's under strategic conversion plan. Okay, and what I'm doing, let me open up the Xmind too for the call, because you're asking me, all of you, the right questions in the funnel. Except, of course, Lee, he's just trying to distract me and upset me, which is what his specialty is. See, he fell asleep. After he peppered me with questions, now he's fallen asleep.
He's disappointed that he can't get Chris. He's disappointed he can't get Chris to fall down the rabbit hole right now.
Yeah, no. See, Chris.
What about Alan? That wasn't a shot at you, Alan.
Alan's here. Don't worry. Alan refuses.
No, Chris and I are ready today.
Yeah, exactly. Alan also refuses to be rattled by you.
Yay.
Alan, come on, man. You got to help me.
I'm listening.
Yeah. All right. Now watch this, guys. The coolest thing about the package and the concept here is that depending on where you're at in implementation, again, my highest recommendation, because of the obvious reason that they have a house that they've tried to sell, is expireds would be number one. Probate, because I think it helps protect you against the shadow of change. If expireds ebb and flow because your market gets better or worse, you're not subjected to being whipped around with probate so much because people always die. Okay. And thanks to actually, Alan, thanks to you and your hard work at going, to some of these classes, we were able to add materials, and that has another beat on top of what is the typical thing, because I'm calling you because I saw that you're the personal representative. It's identical to what you just did above with expireds, and the same for FSBOs. And then the same, if we're circle prospecting, and we can get into it. We have to work on that a little bit more, but the first three are there. Now we've yet added this idea of the internet lead for the seller. I'll come in there, you see, I don't even have it in here. So now what I'll do is I'll go in there and I'll talk about what you could do if you do decide to call them, because you'd simply be taking what I just wrote and you'd be adding it there. So Charlie, the whole idea here, when you come to this expired, you get it, it's here. But you see, here's where I was going. May I do that? Okay. Yes. Yeah. May I confirm your best mailing address? Okay. I'll call you next week to make sure that, and it's a demonstrative, it's not a question. May I call you next week? I'll call you next week to make sure that you received it. That is the end of the first beat. Okay. Unless, of course, you get an objection. Well, wait a minute. What are you sending? Okay. And then, of course, no. So now you can explain, I'm mailing you a list of properties with pictures and details. That's the candy that's sold in your price range while you're on the market. Okay. That's agitating the solution to the pain. I'm also including a copy of our 7-step listing plan. I would call it probably something else now than that. Our 7 steps to success strategy that we use with our sellers, something like that. You can play with that language. The point has been, you're completed this. Okay. Now, here's where you're asking me a question about either on the first call or when you call them back. Right. And so I think it's really 4B. Looks like a great property. Why are you trying to sell it in the first place? And again, I like that more so because you've completed the beat. The Trojan horse has been accepted. It'll be being delivered. Now, if there's an opportunity to converse further because your intuition tells you so, or they said something to lead you to believe that, this is where you begin to get into that. Okay. So now some of this stuff is probably, I probably go back in there now and say, all right, guys, if you can begin to segue into, the questions that we ask when we get a yes for the appointment, this is probably the time in step number 5, right? Because you see, Charlie, if I go back to it, okay, if I go back to it in that moment in time, let me go back to it for a second, okay? I go back to the seller qualifying questionnaire, you're going to notice that that's the question number 1. Why are you thinking about selling it? Why'd you try to sell it in the first place? Whatever you want to do, but it is strategic. Because what you're doing is you're finishing beat number 1, and before the thing even gets there, because we know they're hard to get on the phone again, if they will give you this stuff, go there. But what we have learned to do if you go there is let them answer, determine if that is a real, genuine reason for selling, and then go to, just out of curiosity, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated would you say you are? If you get a 10 or they break the scale, you absolutely want to be pushing for an immediate appointment if you can get it. That's what we have discovered. So what I'll probably do next, because that is what has worked and is effective, I'll probably go back to the prospecting mind map and put a little note that says, if there's an opportunity to dig in deeper, ask, why'd you try to sell it in the first place? Something like that. Ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated would you say you are? Right? Those are conversational, but very extremely strategic that will identify a real avatar. And if you have that opportunity, wonderful. Now, Charlie, if you can't get this in, but you get a real yes to sending it, this is the answer to your question on the follow-up. Now you simply follow up and say, hey, Charlie, calling back, right? Here's the follow-up after package delivery. Did you receive that information that I sent you? Now, you want to be careful of the questions here, because you don't want to ask them, did you have any questions? Nope. Now you're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is where you now take that beat to say, and again, we always want to try to improve this concept of scripting per se, which is more strategic approach to remember, you are bringing them along a ride on your assembly line. This is what I was trying to make the point to Lee. Okay. I know I can rip his telemarketing apart if I hear the calls. You know how I know? I've helped the team in Ottawa, Canada, who absolutely have an entire staff of these people. And we found subtleties that were killing them. One guy tripled his production once we straightened it out. So the subtleties on the phone, you think as managers, even of yourselves, that you're doing this, but when you listen to the two-sided conversation, you realize all of a sudden you're way off in the poppy fields, right? And these strategies are being developed based on what the consumer is really saying to us. In other words, if it's effective, they say yes, 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 yes. You keep following that pattern. You don't go change it. You follow?
Yeah.
So now what we're doing is we're trying to find out when either we have it in the first call or we can only get it in the second call. Hey, just want to make sure you got that stuff, in the mail. Super. Hey, I was thinking, I'm in the area a lot. I always like to know what's off market. I know you're not thinking about, selling soon. Do you mind if I stop by and see it? You can go for the appointment, because remember, the whole intent here was to get you an appointment. But you could also say, hey, did you get it? Hey, I was thinking, it's a beautiful house. How come you're trying to sell it in the first place? Because maybe you can't get them to crack to answer those two questions until they get something from you. I do understand where Lee's coming from. Like, somebody likes what they're saying on the phone. It sounds different to them. They say, can you email it to me? What I would be saying if I were them is saying, we can email you some stuff, but it will do you an injustice. So why don't we do this? I'll send some stuff over to you via email, but I want to get this whole package out to you. It's important you see the whole thing. It will really benefit you. I know you're not going to be home for a week or two because you're traveling, but let me do both. I would never let them wag the dog ever again, knowing that the most powerful thing, especially for the avatar that we want, is to get this thing in their hands. We know that. It's not lost on us. And it's the same thing in an open house for the buyer. In fact, what I told Laura about that and the agent meetings or recruitings. Let me give you an example of how it works, Charlie, on the agent recruiting, which is nothing that you're interested in at the moment. But let me show you how you think about the same thing. I go to ZipRecruiter. It's the equivalent of Vulcan. I'm buying the names of people who are interested in a copywritten ad. The ad on ZipRecruiter is a copywritten letter that provokes them to apply for the job. Now we pick up the phone and we telemarket to them and we find out what's most important. Where are they at? So we determine their timing and motivation to become an agent. Are they already one? Are they thinking about doing it? Right? And what's most important to them. If they begin to hit our buzzwords like, I need the education, I need the training, I want the patience, right? Versus what's your split? What's your split's a dead on arrival for me? That you're dead on arrival. I have zero interest in you. And it would be the same thing. I don't know. I'm motivated, really about a 7. Geez, how come so low? How come you're not a 10? How come you're not breaking the bank? Like, what's keeping you from being there? Now, all of a sudden, you recognize that it's not you, it's them. Because their motivation, you've got the right stuff in their hands now, and their motivation is just not there. Or you can find out that they expired because they really weren't there. Whereas the couple of people that I can think about, the sellers that we converted, Charlie, they both had a huge reason to move. One had already moved out of state and was trying to carry the cost of the house by Airbnb-ing it from Tennessee. They were over a 10. I asked Laura to try to find the qualification sheet for them. The last one we went in, she was a 15 because she had a house that she'd already been in. They were going to lose the deal by March, right? I mean, you can't get better avatars than that. And so now we say, pursue them, Charlie. Find those people. It's not just about calling all of them for any reason. It's about calling all of them to find out who's a 10 or above. So don't forget these questions anywhere you can get them. If you can get them in the first beat, great. If it takes the second beat, great. And I'll leave this open and I will make these adjustments in this script because I think that's exactly where you're at. And I think that also satisfies what Tony was asking me about timing and motivation and blends it with what I know he's missing. He's trying to solve through video and text and direct mail, voicemail, all that stuff like Lee is. You're trying to solve a problem that you're actually part of because you're not offering something of value to them that is foundational. Yes, you can offer a free home inspection. Yes, you can offer a free inspection because those support the things that are in the main package. But until we understand the main package, the do-it-yourself kit is the thing that changes the relationship. See, by offering it on the first call, they might tell you the truth about their timing and their reason. You got it? When it arrives, the people that need to be pried open like a coconut might then do it. But all the while, if they get it and they don't crack, you got a problem with that avatar.
Yeah. Okay.
Does this answer it for you?
Thanks.
Charlie, does that help?
Yeah, it does, Jamie. Thanks
Okay.
for clarifying.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, next question. What do we got? Nothing. Boy, you guys are off to a slow start this year. Really. I'm telling you, it's interesting. Let's say this to all of you. It's interesting. Last year, there was much more first month enthusiasm. This is really a weak start. I worry about you guys, not the core people, but you'd be surprised at how few people are on this call right now. And the ones that need the most help are not asking questions. Staggering to me that people just get off to that slow of a start because this is the whole first quarter. What do we got? What's next? Anything? It's an hour. I can be done.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kate.
But it's not related to
Kate, it's a helpline. Kate, it's a helpline.
Okay.
It's a whatever.
Okay. So I have this seller who I have talked to you about in the past.
Yeah.
And so when I had presented that offer, that was kind of low. And this was Thanksgiving. I presented that offer. And he never even responded to it. So I tried to have kind of like a, debriefing about it and just, does he even want to sell? And it's definitely a very emotional deal. It's in an estate. So he's the executor of the estate. His wife died. So I was like, Mel, you want to get this condo off your back. I know you do. He was like, I don't have to sell. It's not going to be my foreclosure. I'm not responding to that. Like really emotional, which I get, but now I haven't been able to get in touch with him since then. Like called, emailed, text, and I don't even know where to go with it.
Kate, you're kicking a dead horse. He's a shitty avatar.
I agree.
He's a shitty avatar.
Horrible avatar.
Yeah, move on.
I wanted to fire him.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving.
Kate, move on. Just put it on and say, look, I'd love to help you, but unless your motivation is a 10 or above to sell this, I can't. We've come to realize that, in a Cape Cod market, we've come to realize in the Cape Cod market that if you're not, a 10 or above and you don't have a real reason to sell, you don't really have a real reason to sell. So I want to make sure that you feel good, that I have checked the box for you, but I think it's probably time for me to move on. Unless you're going to tell me that you're a 10 or above. You're still talking about something. Nature hates a vacuum. Get rid of this deal and move on. You're trying to squeeze a square into a round peg. And if there's one thing Laura, myself, and Autumn have learned very quickly, we recognize the avatar. In fact, when it comes to recruiting, we've new distinctions on that avatar. And you know what that is. It's the people that show up and like you and Laura, they're ready to go. Their notebooks are out. They're always students of the game. Other than that, I'm not chasing people. I'm not chasing sellers that don't want to sell. I'm not chasing buyers that don't want to buy. Because if I can continue to refine the systematic approach, somebody will fill that up. So the guy's going dark on you, that's not a good avatar. It's period. Okay. I mean, period. If they don't understand the communications there, I have no problem with emotional people. None. Zero. As long as they continue to communicate with me. We just solved one of the most difficult people we have ever solved. And it was so worth it in the end, right? It just was for everybody. It's because they kept communicating. Like I said to Laura, yes, it was hectic. Yes, there was foul language. Yes, there was screaming. But in the end, it was totally, it was totally organized and it got done because it needed to, because the reason for selling was massive, right? The motivation really was massive. And so we knew that. And so we just hung in there. Yeah. So you can get through emotional, difficult deals if the motivation is real and they grade themselves over a 10, right? We call it either at full throttle 10 or scale busters. We love scale busters like the Gateys who said we're 15s, right?
And that, you're talking about that more often really made me think about him. And I thought his motivation was really high, but when he kind of screamed that comment at me, whether it was, truthful or not, there's clearly something in his head that he literally doesn't care about this property.
Well, first of all, it's a short sale, so why should he care? There's nothing in it for him.
Right. Yeah.
So there's nothing. It's only.
And I thought it was going to be his foreclosure, but he said that it's the estate, it's his wife has passed. So
he has zero interest unless you can make him an offer to give it something that's in it for him. Say, hey, I'll tell you what. I talked to Danny, and Danny says if you'll cooperate with us in a short sale, we'll give you back a referral fee of 25% of the gross commission. You have to make it monetary. There has to be something in it for him, right? Otherwise, you're dead. You're sitting there trying to bring something back to life where there's no motivation, there's no reason, there's no monetary drive. Turn something into money. Say, would you be interested if we offered you a 25% rebate on the commission? But you have to do exactly what we say to do so we can get it sold.
All right. I think that's kind of perfect in a conversation that's like, if you won't take that deal, then I don't think I can help you anymore.
No, I don't think. It's over. If you won't take that deal, we're done here.
You gotta watch with that, because I had a similar situation a couple of years back where it was referred to as a kickback, and the banks looked at it and said, well, if the quote unquote seller is getting any money, the bank is entitled to that. And you gotta be that's a very fine line in many states. So just do a little digging before you make that offer.
Yeah, a little research on wording and what legally can be offered.
Yep.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just call it personally. You know how I feel about all that stuff. I appreciate what he just said. It's a commission rebate. You do with it what you want. Just say it that way. Say, would you be interested in a 25% commission rebate?
Right, but when where I ran into the problem with that, and I don't want to get defensive about it. I'm just saying my situation, because I almost got caught with my pants down. Any commission rebounds, any finances that come as a result. What's that?
So that's shocking.
But any time there's proceeds that are going back to anytime there's proceeds coming out of a short sale, the lender is entitled to all of that.
I think it's just how you word it on the HUD. That's all.
That's what I'm saying. You got to be very careful, and I don't know what your state laws are. I can only speak from my experience here in New York. But you got to be really careful. You got to have a very creative and cooperative firm working on it as well.
Cool. That's good advice.
Okay.
All right, Kate.
Yeah.
Kate, bring that to a conclusion. It's killing the rest of your book of business. Yeah, it's killing the rest of your book.
Yeah,
And I realize that in our book too. And we're dealing with a difficult situation right now with a seller. And it's, again, I always feel like this, if they'll communicate with me, I don't care how whacked out the situation is. If they will impede me, like this gal wanted to, disconnect from us and this, and I said, no, you just hired me to do a job. I started to do the job. I have some hard costs. If you want to get out of it, then you can write me a check for all the hard costs. Otherwise, we're gonna go the full length of the contract, and you're gonna please get out of the way of me doing my job, including you getting into the house and doing open houses, me getting in there and doing open houses. You know what I mean? But she's communicating again. Yeah. Albeit she's communicating in sort of a bipolar way. 1 minute it's this, 1 minute it's not this, because she's out of control emotionally, right? But we know she needs to sell. So she's already gone to one broker. She's already tried it herself. So it just keeps hurting herself. I can still help her as long as there's communication. But if she gets in the way of the deal, which your guy is doing, now you're out of tarmac and there's not much you can do.
Right.
Cool.
Totally. All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Good question. Anything else before we wrap?
I got a quick question for you.
Shoot.
On wording of the telemarketer script. You guys always use the line "beautiful home," but let's face it, not all homes that don't sell are beautiful. Have you used any different language?
Yeah, sure.
Script?
Dean, I am absolutely positive. Like I was, saying to Lee, I don't know everything that Autumn says. Laura doesn't know everything that Autumn says. Autumn doesn't know everything that Autumn says. So the point is like that human desire in the brain for variety. What kind of mood is she in today? What happened to her outside of work today? She comes in with all of that mindset. And that's why I've been teaching Laura and Autumn to get athletic before they make the calls. Because it was something I was talking to Marty about the other day, is that I was saying, look, dude, you can't walk into the gym and just lift weights and get bigger. You have to get your legs under you, bend your knees, remember what muscle you're doing. I said the same to Autumn. I said, Autumn, look, we hit that door. And Laura and I had already talked about it, so it wasn't just Autumn. It's like you hit that door, you have to take everything that's happening in your life and set it aside. Get to your desk, get your legs under you, get the package out to your left, get your list out to the right. And Autumn and Laura, their desks are immaculate. These two are very athletic. And if you want to know why they're successful, they come in to play the game, right? So when they sit down there and they go there and they're more athletic, they tend to stick more towards what they know works, okay? It is her language of beautiful. Because why? More so because it's a complementary trigger for the brain of the human being on the other side, not because we're looking at the product, each one equally. There is a certain point in time where complementary style on the phone is critical. So to get them to lean in, it's more of a psychological trigger to be complementary. And we're not going to worry about somebody's perception of beauty. If somebody's got a distress sale, but it's a beauty price in a beauty location, that's a beauty. So I'm not going to overthink it when I turn her loose. If she believes that trigger is what works, then go for it. Cool?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm always, because I've gotten pushback on occasion in doing it where the house was an absolute dump. I didn't do my due diligence before getting on the phone.
It's
and
a slight.
I used the word beautiful house, and the guy just laughed at me. He's like, "Have you seen this house?"
Yeah. So say, hey.
I found it amusing.
Whatever. Just sub the words. Hey, you got an interesting situation. I saw the house. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's.
Yep.
I legitimately find interest in real estate. I'm legitimate about that. I mean, I can see a distress sale and see its potential for an investor, its location, its rental potential. I always do see the beauty in something. Like I genuinely am okay with that concept as long as the caller believes it and understands that they also believe it, right? And that's why we made a big deal of the package. I need you all to believe in the value of this package and sell yourself on it. Send it to yourself, read it. Even Julie asked Laura to send it to the house. She said, what is this thing? So she sent it and they loved it. Julie was like, wow, this is great, this magazine. And my kid looked at it and goes, wow, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? So you have to genuinely believe what you're saying. So that's where I would say there's some flexibility. But the key critical point I would underline, is it complimentary? Because it needs to be. You need to be complimentary to that person in that moment in time, right? Because if you want to trigger a response to get them to talk to you, there has to be some positive vibe here, right?
Yeah, that's why, for me, I mean, you know me with choice of words. I always use the word opportunity. So that I've started leaning that way, and I find for me it flows better because I own that,
Yeah, Dean. Well, like I said,
one of the most frequently used words we use here.
Like I said to Lee, and here's the deal. I'm not calling you guys out per se. I'm just saying I have never heard any of your recorded calls, whether you made them or somebody that works for you make them. Never. I've had Jackie, in his case, on the phone for a role play, which I think at a certain point in time is procrastination. I think all these role players, quote unquote, I don't know, dude. To me, you got to role play the same shit every day. Why? Because you're getting yourself hyped like, 14-year-old boys about to go out and play a hockey game. It's lost on me. If you know the value of what you're doing on that phone, okay, then it's simple. Record the phone call so you can see that what you actually think you're doing, you are doing. And then to hear the reaction on the other side. The most important thing of a recorded call is to hear the reaction on the other side to see if we're all right at all. But to sit there and guess what's happening is the singularly most dangerous thing. If you can get down on an assembly line, anywhere in that assembly line, and really know what's happening, you can very easily adjust the way you do things. Very easily, right? And that's how deep we are into our funnel, because we understand that our communication with our clients when we onboard them is a weakness. We're so darn good at getting them to say yes. It's from there going forward. Are we solid and are we systematic? The answer is sort of, right? So I say for everybody in this group, if you don't make the telemarketing calls, shame, shame, shame at some point. If you don't have somebody making them because you won't make them, shame, shame, shame. And you don't have the packages to begin with, you're dead on arrival. But the minute that's all in place, if you can just simply record them, and people say, how do you record them? Well, CallRail is an application. There's applications on your cell phone. A lot of these other things have recorders built in. If you can't hear real calls, and you can pick them randomly, you don't have to always do them every day, every week. But if you're not meeting with your telemarketer and me, listening to real calls, you have no idea what's happening at one of the most critical points in your assembly. Focus on that, and that would happen. You'll totally change the face of your business. Not quickly, but you will totally change the face.
We got our phones installed on Friday, and I'm looking forward to, as soon as I get back, just turning away and actually hearing what comes out of my own mouth.
Yeah, exactly right. Because you know what? Especially us, if you make your phone calls yourself, I'll tell you what you do. You default to muscle because you're just good, man. And you'll get a result. Like my brother the other day, we gave him one of the Boston seller leads. Now, he was effective to the extent that he got her to begin to lean in. But since it's one of my leads, I said, dude, you're not going to do it on muscle. I know what you did. You spoke to the lady for 90 minutes. And everybody's saying, oh, he spoke to the woman for 90 minutes and he got her. Well, that's not a leverage of time at all in my mind's eye. I get it. You didn't quite get it there yet. But here's what we're going to do. You're going to get a damn package out to her. We're going to put an analysis in it. We're going to see if the analysis aligns with what's going on. You did have something. We know it's a market making issue. So get the damn stuff to her and open up a lane, not him, but Autumn. Get the stuff to this lady, open up a lane that nobody else is in. And then you can knock yourself silly with off market, but I'm still going to spend the money. You send the photographer in as if we listed it. You get the floor plans. Because as soon as he posted it on Facebook today, he jumped the gun. He posted it on Facebook without the pictures and details. And what's the first thing somebody asks? Got any pictures and floor plans? So it's like we default to muscle when we can sell. You see what I'm saying? And he'll argue that with me, but this is one of my leads. So don't argue with me or you won't get another one of my leads, right? Because it pisses me off when we don't stay disciplined. Myself, if I don't stay disciplined, it's the same rub on me that would be you or John. So I think what you'll find is you'll cheat, Dean. You'll cheat. That's why the faster you can hire a telemarketer and tell them this is the way that we do it here, please stick to it, and immediately record their phone calls and teach them the benefits of sticking to it, they'll begin to see it for themselves and they'll sell themselves like Autumn did. She's like, holy crap, this package. I'm like, yep. And all of a sudden I found out she was taking out the copywritten letter, early on. I'm saying, no, you don't understand. The reason the package works for you is because that copywritten letter is making inbound calls. So you don't even realize it, but you've been here for 8 months. Somebody works for you. It's called a copywriter, and it's stuck in a page on this package. So you get inbound calls, so you don't have to make that call anymore because they call you. And that's it, man. That's the whole system. So Laura and I were like, this morning talking about that if you meet with the right agent, because you can vet them over the phone, you give them this package, they walk away with the Trojan horse. Who the hell else is going to treat them that way or talk about that stuff once they get going? See what I'm saying? So the faster you can get this set up, all of you, the right way, the quicker you can listen to real calls and have real feedback, the quicker we can make adjustments. But we're pretty darn close here. We're pretty darn close.
Hey, Barry, what's the cost for you to get the girl to do your market update data?
Oh, gee, she does so much. I don't know. I'll have to find out. I can introduce you to her and you can ask, because we do on the quarter, we do multiples. And then relatively speaking, it's a joke and expensive, and it's sitting in the coolest thing is she has it sitting in my email lead within 24, 48 hours after the month ends. So
it's about $30. It's about $30 per report.
There you go.
Is what I'm saying.
There you go. Awesome. There's the answer. Yeah.
Postage is going up.
It's either 30 or 40. I forget that.
I'm sorry, Lee. Say that again.
Postage is going up to 55 cents in a couple weeks too.
Yeah, good. It'll make us off. Yeah.
I bet you didn't know that, did you?
I did not know that, but I'm so contented to know that I don't waste my money on postage anyway. Hey, it'll be interesting now that we've got a bunch of people finally getting this. Cantu in particular has, worked hard, and Anita's working hard to get a good number, a good cost number. She's actually using Quantum Digital as a print company to print 100 of these. Paul got a really good number, so I've asked both of them to send them to me so that we can beat on quality. And of course, that we got a huge, that box was quite expensive at $50. So I want to think about how I want to use it and see if there's other alternatives. So sunpack.com, the box quote we got was $49, and that was at volume. So any of you that want to do some research with me on that to get the cost of a box down for luxury, we'll be working on that. But I will be working more so on making my envelopes, my general envelopes, better first. So we'll see what that looks like too. So those are a couple things we're working on. Alan, you're quiet today, dude. All good?
Yeah, I'll talk to you. I have some questions for my one-on-one.
Cool. Awesome. All right, bud. Just want to make sure because you were first in today.
Business.
Yeah, I want to make sure. All right. Very good. Hearing no more questions, let's move on to Thursday's call. I'll see the rest of you for one-on-ones. Good call here today. All kidding aside, you guys are actually asking some really good questions. I just want to make sure foundationally you understand what I'm saying, especially those that have been around a long time. You got to get some recordings, guys. So for yourselves, you hear what's happening. Lee, especially you, because we're working on that, that concept of team. Dean had the same problem back when, that people that get too close to the sun get burned up, right? And a lot of the people that you've hired are flying too close to the sun, right? And they need to back off, and they need to listen, and they need to do what they're told to do in the system for their own benefit. And if they won't, you're at a crossroads, right? But that starts with you and I being better consultant and manager, where we get what's real on the phone and we find out. We just have to find out in your business. And I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. Like you and Dean of all, two guys that help carry this with Gail and all the people that have been around forever. And I don't really know in your business whether or not you're getting screwed by lack of managing that piece. So please get me evidence. And nothing would make me more happy than to dig into it for you two. Okay?
All right.
All right. Well, all right, everybody. See you. Have a good afternoon. See the rest of you on your one-on-ones.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Good work.